Hey everybody. So there's been a lot of talk, at least in my circles recently, about generating random IDs. And you can do it with numbers very easily. That's already built into Adalo. But what if you want to generate, say, a temporary password, right? Or a unique ID for a record or for a user or for an order or whatever it is that you're wanting to create, right? But maybe you want it to have capital letters, lowercase letters, symbols, you want it to be 100 characters long, whatever it is. I'm going to show you a quick and easy, really easy and free way to do that, all right? So I've just got a testing app here with a single button. In fact, we don't even need this. I've just got a single button here to create an ID. And we'll work this out in just a second, but I'm going to go over here and I've got a product here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my products actually have a, in this case it's a name, but I'm going to rename this like the ID of the product, right? And so what I want to do is maybe I want to create a product and then assign a random ID to it, right? Let me delete that and get that out of the way. The easiest way to do this is there is a website called passwordwolf.com. Passwordwolf.com. And the cool thing is that it is a password generator. Now, I know what we're generating is not a password. It's technically an ID, but it's basically the same exact thing. There is the same function. So here you can generate them obviously with the interface here, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a little section called API usage, and it's really, really easy to do this. All you need to do is copy this URL here. So I'm going to copy this with Command C or Control C on a PC. Go over here to this button. I'm going to add a custom action here. And let me just find one that I'm not using here, this one, so that I don't have to create another one. Let's just call this generate ID. All right, the type is going to be a create. I'll hit next, and it is going to be a get, actually. You don't need any of this stuff here. You don't need anything here, so we're going to take all this stuff out. Right? So we don't need anything here. The only thing that we need to change here is just this URL. All right, and if we go back to the API here, you can see that there are a couple of different variables. So uppercase is on or off, right? Lowercase is on or off, numbers on off. This is how you control what the password that's generated is going to look like. Okay. You can even exclude certain characters or certain numbers or whatever, like 0 or the letter O, if you want to do that. You can create up to 128 passwords at a time, which is insane. It also will return a phonetic spelling of the password. So, for letters it would use, golf, echo, India, all those types of things. For numbers, it would just give you, 0, 1, 2, 3, obviously. So that's the phonetic spelling there. But all we have to do is just append these variables to the end of the URL. And the reason that I copied this is just to make it easy to go ahead and fill this out. And for each thing that I want to change in the custom action, I'm going to add an item over here for the custom action. So if I want to be able to change the length of the password, I'm going to take out where it says length equals 10 here, and I'm going to replace this with a length variable. And this is going to be a number. So over here, I'm going to call this ID length. And this is so that, if you want to change this in the future, you can, right? Rather than having to go back into the custom action to change it each time. Maybe you need to generate a code in multiple places in your app, but the codes need to be different. That's kind of why we do this dynamically. All right, so the ID length, maybe I want it to be, 4 characters. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the magic text here, go back over here to this length, and I'm just going to put in this variable that we've established. So the length is whatever I'm going to put into my custom action here. All right, so uppercase, let's go ahead and make that. Let's go ahead and make this uppercase on or off. And let's go ahead and turn uppercase on. I think it's on by default, but all right. So again, instead of saying upper is off, I'm going to replace off here with my variable that I've created. And let's go ahead and do one for lowercase. All right, and let's turn lowercase off maybe. And even though it says off here, we're going to put in a dynamic value so that this can be changed. Okay, so lower is our lowercase. Special, this is special characters. So you can probably call this, symbols or something. Symbols on, off. And let's go ahead and turn symbols off. And again, same thing. Just replacing it with our new variable that we have. I don't really care to exclude anything in this one, but maybe you would want to include things, and that would be set up basically the exact same way. Just like the API says, the repeat variable determines how many passwords you want to generate. So in this case, I just want to generate one. And if I want to include numbers, the numbers property is actually missing from this. So let's go ahead and include the numbers property here. Numbers on, off. And let's go ahead and turn this one on. Now this one we need to add to the end of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a and symbol, an ampersand symbol, and we're going to type in numbers, because numbers is exactly what we have here. Okay, numbers. So numbers, and then an equal sign to tell us what the value of that is, and we're going to put in our numbers here. You know what? And just for grins and giggles, let's go ahead and type in the repeat. Right. So maybe we want to call this number of passwords. This is not super necessary because custom actions can only return one item at a time. But just for grins and giggles, we'll put it in here. Number of passwords. Okay, cool. So that's all we need to do. Let's go ahead and run a test. And let's go back. Let's see, I think we did something wrong here. Let's just check. API, length, and upper, and lower, and numbers. Let's try a post and see. There we go. So it needs to actually be a post instead of a get. All right, so as long as we've got outputs here, there's our password that was generated, 7YUM. And there's the phonetic spelling, 7 Yankee Uniform Mike. All right, so we'll go ahead and save this. And the ID length, you'll notice that those variables that I had are now inputs here that I can choose. So I can change the length of this. Let's say now I want 8 characters. Let's say I want uppercase to be off. I want lowercase to be on. I want symbols to be on. I want numbers to be on. And the number of passwords, again, is just going to be 1 here. All right. So when I click this, what I'm going to do is I want it to first create a product. And I'm going to move this up to the top. The ID is just going to be empty for now. This whole thing's going to be empty. Then, after I create the product, I want to generate an ID for the product. And then what I want to do is I want to update the new product that we just made with the new ID that we just made. So we're going to generate, this is the action, the previous step here, so generate. We're going to get the output of that step, which is this password. All right. So just for grins and giggles, let's add a list of products here. Just add a simple list here. Move this out of the way. So let's make this a list of products, and let's go ahead and turn on the refresh so that when we add a new product, we can see it. And you can see that it's already got product ID there. All right. So let's go ahead and preview this and see what happens. All right, so let's create an ID. Here we go, there's an ID. Let's create another one. There's another one. And see, we've got our 8 characters, no capitals, just like we specified, and even symbols in there, just like we specified. And that is how you generate random IDs, codes, passwords, vouchers, whatever it is you need to do. All right, hope that was helpful for you.